Okay, today I am working on fingerless gloves. So I have two prototypes here, and this pattern is ambidextrous, meaning the glove will fit on the right hand or the glove will fit on the left hand. It's very easy, beginner friendly. So let me show you. And then this one does not have a cuff. I kind of like this one better. It's nice and plain, very easy. This one has a cuff where I did the ribbing, but this part is too big. So that doesn't have to do with the cuff. That has to do with I needed to adjust the size of the pattern. So this one I like the best. So this is the one that I'm going to be using as the free pattern. So I started another one here just to practice my stitch out. But what I'm going to do is grab another, and this one I started to use a smaller hook. So let me write down that I'm using a H hook, H 5mm, because that's the standard hook that I usually use. And of course I just moved my yarn and I wanted to start with another yarn. Let me grab that because I want to show you all right. And then what I'm going to do is I will download this to YouTube and it will have the printed out instructions. So the way you're going to start is with a chain 27. So let's just do that. So get your H hook. You're going to make your little slip knot. That's very easy. Just loop it over and then see this one, push it through, grab it, grab the tail, boom, slip knot. See? Put it around your hook. Chain 27. Try to keep your chain from twisting. And then I lost count. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Okay, now let me show you a couple tricks. This fingerless glove is sized for my hand. So let me show you a few measurements. And then this part you can always make longer because this is going to be like kind of up in the cuff of your clothes. Or you can fold it over if you like a folded over style. See that? And this part for your thumb is so easy, you're not even going to believe it. But here are a couple tricks. Let's say you don't want to count rows. You can do it by measurement. So let me show you. My hand is about 3.5 inches across. If you measure around, including the thumb, so let's see. That's going to be at the widest point, I think 8.5 inches. So you can make your chain, your beginning chain, longer or shorter, that'll just give you an idea. 27 starting chain will fit over 8.5 inch around, right? Okay, so, and then this cuff part you can make longer or shorter, but it's going to be super easy. Okay, so we got our 27 chain. What you want to do is smooth your chain so that it's not twisted, and then carefully bring it back over to your hook. Hold it with your thumb, tighten your loop here, make sure it's still flat, and then you're going to just slip stitch. Now don't get confused, this is the tail, and I just went in to that first stitch and I'm going to slip stitch. Okay, so the reason why I did 27 chain is because you're going to end up kind of losing one. So after you do the slip stitch, and why I say losing one is because of the join, it kind of overlaps a little bit, so one stitch is not going to make a huge difference. Okay, so you slip stitch there, and then I'm going to do back loop only, single crochet around the whole base chain, back loop only. Okay, so for beginners, let me show you a close-up here. I'm going to just take my hook out so I can show you. This is your chain. Each one of these is a stitch. It looks kind of like a V. See this V? So when you go in back loop only, go in the back loop only. See that? On each stitch, back loop only. Okay, so back over here, get your yarn back on your hook, tighten up your loop, back loop only, single crochet, back loop only, single crochet. Okay, so do that all the way around. Now I'm just going over the tail so that I don't have to sew it in later, but you can leave it free, sew it in later, whichever you prefer. So go around the whole perimeter, back loop only, single crochet. Okay, so now I'm going to drop that. Now you see how the stitches are kind of loose? Don't worry about that. Just keep going around, back loop only, single crochet, back loop only, single crochet. Keep on going all the way around. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop right here because I want to show you how to use your stitch marker. Let me take this off. So this is where you joined, right? And then you can see this is the first stitch. So I'm going to put my stitch marker right there. Okay, so just pick up both of those loops, front and back loop, close your stitch marker, and then back to the project, back loop only, single crochet. So just keep doing that all the way around. And this project is worked as rows, which means you will connect with a slip stitch when you get back around to the beginning. So keep going all the way around. And then when you get up a few rows, you'll notice that it's taking more shape. Right now this is going to be twisting every which way. The only thing you need to worry about is that it's not twisted around, like you don't have a kink like this or something. You want it to be smooth exactly like a circle. Okay? The key is when you connect the ends of your beginning chain together, make sure it's not twisted. Okay, so just keep on going around. Okay, and sorry, I should have told you, this is a size 4 yarn. This is pretty common, basic for beginners. This is a size 4 weight yarn. On the yarn, it will have a recommendation of the hook size. I usually use an H8, which is a 5 millimeter. If you use a larger hook, your finished product will be larger. If you use a smaller hook, your finished product will be smaller. Also, your gauge is going to change the size. Not your gauge, sorry, your tension. How tight or how loose you crochet will also affect the finished product. Now, typically, with traditional crochet, you can do a swatch. It is called a gauge swatch. The gauge swatch is on each yarn, and it will tell you if you make a square that is, well, this looks like it's for knitting, but I believe it's going to be the same for crochet. If you do 17 stitches across and 23 rows, it should turn out to be 4 by 4 inches with the eye crochet hook. Now, if it doesn't come out that size, then you just adjust your pattern. If you're making something for yourself, just keep trying it to see how it's fitting. Okay, and then that's how you can determine if your gauge is off because of how tight or how loose you crochet. Okay, so here we are back at the beginning, and don't get yourself confused because this is the joining stitch, right? So you're not going to stitch in there. You're going to stitch into this first chain, or this first stitch of the first row. And then what we're going to be doing is a slip stitch. So you just go through the front and the back loop. Here's your working loop, front and back loop, go through both, get your yarn through, pull it through your loop. Okay, take out your stitch marker, keep it handy because you're going to use it in a minute. So if you ever take your hook out, just make your loop extra long so that you don't lose your stitches. And then you see we're joined together, right? And now we are going to do a half double crochet in the same stitch where we joined. So yarn over, go into that same stitch where you did your slip stitch, 3 loops, pull your yarn through all 3 loops, okay? Now that is your first stitch of your new row. Put your stitch marker. Okay, let me set this down a minute. I need to adjust my chair. I don't know why, but my chair mat seems like it's moving, meaning like to a different location than I had it before. Okay, so now you're going to do half double crochet all the way around. Half double crochet all the way around. You're going in front loop and back loop. Okay. So let me show you again. Here is your stitch. Here is your working yarn. Keep it snug. It doesn't have to be tight where it's choking the hook.
but you don't want it out here like loose, and because when you go in to do your stitch, let me pretend I'm doing my half double, and you have your yarn all sloppy, then when you pull it through, you have a giant stitch, and it's not going to be smooth and uniform, right? But you can just keep practicing. If you're in beginning mode and you're just practicing, this is fine too. Just keep practicing, and then you'll get your tension. You don't want to be choking the hook. You don't want to have the yarn flopping around all loose. And I am left-handed, so if this is a challenge for you, you might want to find a tutorial for a right-handed project. But once you get your stitches down, you can follow any pattern, and this particular one is not directional specific. Once you finish 2 of the fingerless gloves, you'll have one for your right hand, one for your left hand. The only difference is going to be, you can see a slight, I don't know what to call that, like a different texture where the join stitch is. So the difference is going to be when you put the glove on your left hand, and again, this is my left hand, I'm crocheting with my left hand. So my join stitches are going to be at the top of the glove on my left hand. When I put it on my right hand, it will be on the bottom of the glove on my right hand. And depending how smoothly you do your join, it may not be noticeable at all. Okay, so continue. Do your double crochet or half double crochet all the way around. And you'll do your join stitch again once you get back to the beginning. And you're going to do, I didn't even count how many rows. We can count right now. I should count on this side so I can see where we put the thumb. Okay, so after the 14th row is where you're going to put your thumb hole. Where did I put my tablet? Okay, 14 rows. 14 rows. Thumb hole. Row 15. Okay. Now, in the essence of time, I am not going to make you sit through watching me crochet 15 rows, but just know that you will do 15 rows. So let me get back around to the beginning, and your 15 rows is counting your beginning row with your back loop only. If you like to use a tally sheet, or you put a stitch marker in each row, or if you want to just do it by measuring, you can do that too. Okay, where am I? Here we go. And what I mean by measuring is measure how long you're making the piece, not counting by rows. And I've done that before. Okay, so now let's count how many stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. Okay, so 26 or 27, that's your base chain. Now we are back around to the beginning. So we're going to do that slip stitch again. And again, we're doing the slip stitch join with the front and the back loop. Here's the front and the back loop. This is your working loop. And so you're going to pull through and pull through, okay? And then half double in the same stitch. If you're more comfortable, leave your stitch marker until you finish that first stitch and then immediately move it. And then from here, just keep doing your rows until you get 15, or what I was saying is the measuring way. Let's say you have a difficult time counting the rows. You're not sure how many rows. Well, what's most important is the length. So how long do you want this to be? Let me show you how it's fitting. So you can see this chain will be across the top of your thumb, and the other will go just below, like right where your thumb knuckle is. So from your thumb knuckle, you can measure and see how long you want it. Okay. So if I measure just the garment, it's 5.5 inches. If I measure from my thumb knuckle, however you can figure out how to do that, it goes just about, okay, let me try to hold it. It goes just about to my jacket sleeve, right? So if that's too long for you or that's too short for you, make it longer, make it shorter. It's approximately 14 rows right here, and within the 15th row is where we're doing the thumb hole. Okay, so I'm going to do one more row, then we're going to pretend that we are at the 14th row, okay? Again, this is all half double crochet. Your base chain will be 26 or 27. It is not an exact, precise science count. I started with 27, and I said that you could lose a stitch. Sometimes when I'm joining, I lose a stitch. In this project, I did not lose a stitch, so we're still at 27. What I do need to refine is row 15, let's see, 15, 16, 17, and 18, because those are the decrease rows. Again, these are all half double crochets. You're going to do half double crochets all the way through the entire project. Okay, so let's say we are finishing row 14 just in the essence of time. And so take our stitch marker out and do our slip stitch join, and then half double in the same stitch, and then we're pretending this is row 15. So row 15, you're going to do, let's see, what have we got? About 4 or 5. Again, it's not exact, precise, because you're just figuring where your thumb hole is going to be. And this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, chain 4. So Now remember, we're pretending this is 14 rows already, and we're working on row 15. So in row 15, you're going to do chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to skip the same number of chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to the 5th chain and do a half double crochet, right? Half double. And let me show you, and then I'll show you again. Half double, and then continue on around. Let me get some more yarn out here. And then I'll go back and show you again. All right, now remember, this is 14 rows. We're pretending this is 14 rows. And so here you're pulling your fingerless glove onto your hand, and that's how you make your thumb hole. Okay? So let's go back so I can show you again. We are on row 15. You can do your initial stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half doubles. Let me write that down actually, because I am in the process of writing the pattern. 7 half double crochet, chain 4, skip 4 stitches, and then half double crochet in the 5th. Okay, so we did 7 half double crochets at the beginning of row 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 half double crochets. Now we're going to make the thumb hole, and again pretending this is row 15. Okay, so for your thumb hole, chain 1, 2, 3, 4, skip 1, 2, 3, 4, and then half double in the next stitch. Okay, so get your half double, and then let's move forward a bit so you can look back and see that thumb hole. Okay, and there's the thumb hole. Now this is a mock-up, so this is row 15. We're going to say this is row 15. We're going to go all the way around, so we're going to keep our same stitch count all the way around, half double crochet. Welcome, welcome. Sorry guys, I'm not watching the screen. I wanted to do this tutorial, so thank you so much. Bronze does everything. That's an interesting screen name. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. So I'm working on a fingerless gloves recipe. Oh my gosh, fingerless gloves pattern. So I wanted to create the tutorial as well, so that when I write the pattern, the tutorial is available, and I will be uploading this to YouTube. And then there will be the free pattern for the fingerless gloves. Okay, so now we're back here to stitch 1. We're going to do the slip stitch join, and that's a basic, sorry, it focuses on the shiny hook. It's a basic slip stitch join, and then do a half double crochet in the same stitch. Okay, and then continue. Now we are on row 16, and let's get our stitch marker back to that first stitch. You don't want to lose that, because when you start losing where the beginning is, for me, that's when I start messing up my stitch count. All right, so you're going to be going around again, still with a half double crochet, but we're going to be wanting to start to do a decrease. So row 15 is the same stitch count, again 26 or 27, doesn't matter. It's not you know, precise. You want to size it to your hand. So if you need a bigger, I'm trying to show you how big my hand is. If your hand, the way to determine what size you need is measure the widest part of your hand, which is typically right where your thumb is. Mine is about 8.5 inches. See, when you wrap the tape measure around? If you don't have a tape measure but you have a ruler, just wrap a piece of yarn around and then lay the yarn on the ruler so you can measure. Excuse me. So 26 or 27 on your beginning base chain, that will fit 8.5 inches. So now we are on row 16. Again, it's a mock-up. So we're pretending row 1 through 14 is here, and row 15 is where you've done the thumb hole. Now we are starting on row 16. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 half double crochets. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease. So just go into front loop only on first stitch, front loop only on the second stitch, get your yarn and pull it through. Actually, I need to do a half double. So wrap your yarn around once and then pick up front loop, pull it through, and then half double. And then we're going to go across this chain. It's like a bridge across the thumb hole with half double, doing the front and the back loop. So go across that little bridge, and then we'll do a decrease again when we get to the other side. And you're just doing half double crochet across this little thumb hole bridge, and you are doing half double crochet, front loop and back loop in each of these 4 chains. And the 4 chains are what makes up the bridge across for the thumb hole. And this last stitch is a little tricky. It's kind of tight. So let me see what I can do here. Sometimes when you're working on projects, you just get to that one stitch that is wanting to be a pain in the neck. So just get your patience. Happens to the best of us. And then see how you can find the 2 parts of the stitch and then just manipulate it so that you get the front and the back loop. Okay, there we go. So see, even when you've been crocheting for a while, you get challenges. Okay, so there we've gone across the bridge of the thumb hole, and then just do, so that's 4, and the 4 is across the bridge, and then 5, 6, 7, and then we'll do another invisible decrease. So do yarn over, front loop, pull through, and then that is doing a very gradual slight decrease so that it will create a snug fit across the top of your hand and across kind of like where your knuckles are going to be. Okay, let me do a count again. So you have the original stitch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's a decrease here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's a decrease here. I think that, oh no, 7, 6, 7, and then there's a decrease here. And that will be written in the pattern because I'm going to write it down right now. 5 half double crochet, and then invisible decrease, and then 7 half double crochet, then invisible decrease, and then let's see what we've got left here. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches left. So let's do 1, 2, did I do a decrease there? No. Okay, so that's 4, 5, 6, and let's do a decrease here. You can see why they call it an invisible decrease, because once you do it, you can't even hardly tell. Okay, now let's see how many stitches we have on this round now that we have done our decrease. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then this is our beginning stitch, so we're going to do the slip stitch join. Now I'm going to take the stitch marker out so that you can see this easier. This is the beginning stitch right here, so that's where we'll do the slip stitch join. See that? And then we're doing a half double crochet in the same stitch, and that's our first stitch on this round. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we're going to do a decrease here. So do invisible decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a decrease here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a decrease, and then 1, 2, and then we're back. So you see there's one more stitch here, but that's our join stitch, so we're going to skip that. We're not stitching in it. We're going to go in and do our slip stitch join, and then a half double in the same stitch. And let me write down my pattern. So you can see there's a tiny bit of a taper so that it will hug your hand, because this part of your hand is a little more narrow than your thumb and your wrist area. And let me see, this is row 17.
Yeah, 17. Okay. All right, so then this is our join. So let's move this stitch marker. And again, you can do it by measuring, or you can count your rows. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And here we've got 2 rows. So I just moved my stitch marker. Actually, that was row 16. I will refine these directions before I post the video. That way there will not be any question on exact stitch counts and increase or decrease. The tutorial will be more for support and demonstrating the stitches. And then you'll follow the exact stitch count from the pattern. Okay. Okay, so let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And here we'll do a decrease. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then a decrease. And we will finish it off with half double crochets. And then here we are back to the beginning stitch. So do your slip stitch, join, and half double in the same stitch. Okay. Now at this point you may want to try it on. See how it feels. Do you want this part longer? Do you like it the length it is? I like mine longer so that it comes up. So this is row 15, 16, 17. So we're going to start row 18. And I believe the fit is perfect. So we will just continue row 18 with the half double crochets all the way around. No increase, no decrease. Move the stitch marker. Now, of course, you can always play with your yarn. You can change colors at each row. You can have a different color
yarn for the row that you do your thumb hole in. Have fun with it, whatever you want to do. You can make these striped or solid, use an ombre yarn. I have used a color change yarn here, that is the Caron Big Cakes. It does not change colors very quickly, so you can see the cuff. I started with the burgundy and then it transitioned to the gray. This was from the same cake. It started with the orange, and this one I was doing the ribbing effect, but I don't think that is as effective as I thought it would be for the fingerless gloves, so I opted to not include that. If you know how to do that and you want to start that way, you certainly can. And you can see the color transition from the orange to the burgundy, and then this is the same cake, so it transitioned to. Okay, so we've just connected to row 18. Now we're starting row 19. And you're just doing half double crochet all the way around. And then you're going to make your top of your glove section, top meaning above the thumb, however long you want it. See? So keep going around until you make it as long as you want it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and do a slip stitch join here, and then this is going to be my last round. So what I'm going to do is do a slip stitch for the finish. And so what you do there is you just go into the stitch, pull the yarn through, pull it through the loop. Right? So you're just doing a finishing edge. If you know of another type of edge that you like to finish with, go for it. So we're just doing the slip stitch all the way around. You make 2 of these gloves and you are good to go. It's the same pattern for the right and the left glove. It will work up perfectly fine for a right-handed or left-handed person crocheting it. Whether you crochet right-handed or left-handed, it should work out just fine. I did not put my stitch marker back in, but you can see how the stitches lay. You can see the V's right here. So as I go along, once I get back to that V, I know that is the beginning, and that is where I will tie it off. So just kind of, there we go. Do chain 1 or chain 2. Whichever you prefer. Find my scissors. Oh, you know, I'm not going to cut it off because this is just a sample. But you'll have your end here. You do chain 1 or chain 2, tighten it off, and then you'll have a tail. So then just weave in your tail from the beginning of the glove and the end of the glove. And there you have your fingerless glove. See that? And again,
the written pattern may be a little bit different. So this is a demonstration to show you how to do your thumb hole, how to do the half double crochet, and then how to do the invisible decrease. So refer to the pattern for the stitch counts, and it should work up just fine. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great night.